Hey everyone, Anthony Cosenza here with Casa Realty Group. Been a little while since we've hit the airwaves, so to speak, and give you a little bit of a market update. A lot of things to get to, a little bit, even in just a couple of weeks since we've given you one of these. A little bit of a shift in the market in a lot of different ways. Some of those, we talk about those scales, the seller scales evening out a little bit. You're seeing some of that take place as we have let you know on earlier editions of this video, as many other economists, prognosticators, others have declared that would happen in the spring, late spring, summer months, that the inventory would change, the balance would change a little bit, but still a good opportunity for sellers to capitalize on equity. Prices are not falling off of a cliff or anything of that nature. There's still a lot of opportunity to capitalize on equity out there. But for the buyers, even though, yes, mortgage rates are rising and yes, prices are still high, the inventory out there is a little bit more plentiful. And we'll show you some numbers and figures to help back that notion up with some of the data that we have compiled for you. We've got a lot to get to on this video, including a mortgage update from Monarch Coast Financial. Kevin Buddy, the president there, will get us that. We've got some interesting pieces of information from Realtor.com, a couple of articles to look at is there. And then we've got a brief update from Reports on Housing. So we'll get to that. Our own homework that we did through the MLS and the inventory updates there. And then, of course, a little bit of some transaction updates from our brokerage and highlighting a community partner or someone in the community that we like to do. So at any rate, let's get going with the market. Okay, well, let's start with a couple of articles from Realtor.com to get things moving and shaking here. And this is a little bit of good news, bad news here on some of these articles. So you can see here, and we like to trend to be a little optimistic because we are that way with our clients and we approach the business as such. But there's also a little bit of realism that needs to be taken into account here. But you can see here this article: record home prices, rising mortgage rates, and a glimmer of hope for home buyers. So yes, bad news in terms of buyers, but the good news. And so, we've talked about the record home prices and the mortgage rates, and we'll talk more about that. You can see home costs about 50% more this April than it did just a year ago, potentially. And this is why we have tried to tell buyers, I know it's hard to hop in there with competitiveness in the market and prices continuing to rise, but they just kept rising. And unfortunately, that's kind of the situation here. But a surprising upside here for home buyers, and a little bit again of some additional good news for sellers, even with the uptick in inventory that we want to talk about. But a surprising upside for home buyers, though, and I will expand this here so you can see more readily what's happening here. Though homeowners are putting up more for sale signs, the 1-2 punch of higher home prices and mortgage rates makes purchasing a home nearly impossible for many buyers on a tight budget. That's good news for, and then, as a result, many are dropping out or putting their home buying plans on hold. So again, bad news there. The good news is for home shoppers who have financial leeway. So if you're a planner, if you've been planning on buying a home, if you've been saving up for a while and you've got a little bit of a financial windfall, you can keep looking. You can be a little bit more picky, and there is a little bit more inventory out there. And then again, the bidding wars, there are still bidding wars. There are still homes that are going over asking. There are still homes that are going at asking, early in the listing process, but it's not the heated bidding wars as we've seen in, parts of 21, early this year, early, a little bit into the early part of the coronavirus pandemic, things of that nature. The bidding wars are starting to die down a little bit, and you're not getting a dozen offers per home. You're not getting double-digit offers per home. It's a lot less than that. And you can, again, if you're a buyer, you're not having to necessarily wade through those waters. And if you have the financial wherewithal, if you've been planning, if you've been in contact with a lender and keeping things in check, you've positioned yourself pretty well, even though mortgage rates are rising and even though prices are still pretty high, it's still a decent opportunity for you. And then, of course, homes are selling faster than ever. And even with the uptick in inventory, I want to reiterate that to sellers, because sellers, have a lot to navigate here as well. But again, you can still capitalize on the equity you've accrued in your home and do so in a very quick manner. So I wanted to relay that Realtor.com article that I came across there. And then there's another one here. And now this market is about finding the right opportunity, whether you're on the buying or the selling side. It's about finding the right opportunity and what works for you. And here you go. The cost of buying a home is up 50% a year ago. I just mentioned that, and that's nation average. That's not necessarily Orange County. That's not necessarily Southern California. There's differing areas here, and this will show you. But here's where you can get a break. And this is showing some areas where there's been some big jumps in prices and whatnot. So I want to show you this. And again, this is going to scroll. You can see here in Miami, they've surged to 83% in terms of a price jump in just 1 year. Now, I want to show you this. Here's the national median. 51% is the housing payments jump. National median, 51%. And then this is, accounting for the nation's 15 largest metros. You see here, Miami, Phoenix, Seattle, a lot of movement into Phoenix. Some folks moving out of California to the Arizona area, or just kind of migrating to that area in general from other parts of the U.S. But here's the national median, 51% jump. And here you go down here, and we do some business in LA County. We do primarily in Orange County, some in Riverside County as well, some in San Diego County as a brokerage here. But I think this is worth noting that, yes, you're going to expect price jumps, and you're going to expect, you can see here a major price jumps in terms of overall. But when you look at it, LA and Southern California, well below the national median, 27%, the national median jump of home prices, 51%. So almost just about half of the national median is where LA sits, and that's not accounting for Orange County and whatnot. So that's something to take, into account when you look at the big picture, in that everybody's talking about these exponential jumps. But when you look at maybe the Southern California area here, for instance, the LA area, there is a big jump in terms of home prices jumping over the past year. But when you look at it, it is far below the national median average of 51%. And so that does say, still an opportunity could be had there for buyers to get into the market. Aggressive, yes. Price jumps, yes, that has occurred. But again, this is important information here to note, that the LA market is about half of the national median average in terms of price increases across the nation year over year. So interesting data there provided by Realtor.com that I felt we wanted to share as well for you, that kind of paints a different kind of picture in the home buying process. So let's keep going here and talk about the rates, talk about different things going on in the market. And this will be, we got a little bit more on the mortgage side, and of course, inventory. This gentleman, Kevin Buddy, a well-respected mortgage professional in the real estate industry, has been doing it for decades. He has been a trusted ally and resource to agents, to our clients for a long time. You can see there, KBUDDE at monarchcoastfinancial.com, 949-422-2075. He is the president of Monarch Coast Financial. He does great work with the Orange County Association of Realtors, providing us with a lot of information. So he gets us up to date on a lot of things. So I'm going to share some recent things that he sent to us. CoreLogic's latest home price index is in, and the forecast for March 22, the U.S. home prices increased 20.9% in March as compared to March 21. Obviously, it's compiling it. They compiled the data at the end of April, early May to get that there. So the annual growth was the largest measured in the 45 history of CoreLogic's. California Association of Realtors has said California's median home price is set a new high in March, and interest rates reached their highest levels in more than 2 years. So again, we kind of kept telling you got to take advantage of these rates. Now, while they are climbing, really, when you look at it in the historical context of it, they're still not astronomically high or anything like that in terms of the rates. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Really, I mean, if you bought 8 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, I mean, you're looking at similar rates than we're seeing today. They were just really historically low, a couple of years ago, a handful of years ago now. And so now they're kind of ticking back up as part of the process to combat inflation and other things. So again, we were kind of saying, you got to look out for that. But again, highest levels in more than 2 years in terms of the interest rates. Housing affordability outlook was diminished in the first quarter of 22. Let's see, Orange County with the least affordable as the percentage of homebuyers who can afford to purchase the 1.26 million median priced existing single family home. So, again, it's some of these things are pushing some buyers out of the market. However, if you've kind of had your ducks lined up in a row for a while, or you've been paying attention to things and have been a planner, this may not be affecting you in the same way as some of these points of data here. The minimum qualifying income needed to afford the monthly payment of $6,250, including taxes and insurance, was $250,000 in household income. So something to think about there. Freddie Mac reported mortgage rates resumed their climb. 30-year fixed rate reached its highest point since 2009. So you can see there, again, if you bought 10 years ago, 15 years ago, these interest rates are kind of in that neighborhood as opposed to where they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. 30-year fixed rate was 5.27% national average, and the 15-year fixed rate mortgage was 4.52%. So a couple of updates, a little bit sobering, but ones that are realistic and ones that we need to face in terms of everything happening in this market. So Kevin Buddy, president of Monarch Coast Financial, a great resource. We always like to have him as a referral source for our clients to go and contact for some lender information. Been in the business for a long time, a really trusted ally in it. 949-422-2075 is the direct phone number. KBUDDE@monarchcoastfinancial.com is the email address. Monarch Coast Financial, a great brokerage and a great ally to have on your team in Kevin Buddy. So we appreciate his information that he has supplied for us. We're going to keep moving here. This is some information, some brief information from reports on housing. It'll corroborate a little bit of what Kevin Buddy's update was. It'll corroborate what we're saying, what we're going to be saying in some of the MLS homework that we have done as well. And you can see here, unexpected slump in demand. This is from a couple of weeks ago, early in May, from reports on housing. You can see here the demand is slumping. For the past month, demand dropped by 6% when it normally rises 4%. So we've got a little bit of a different summer market on the horizon here. Inventory springs up again. You can see the active listing inventory surged higher by 372 homes, up 21%. Now, again, this is from a couple of weeks ago. So the numbers I'm going to provide on the Orange County front are going to be a little different than this, but you can see, I mean, the percentages definitely are relatable. 21%. Still the lowest level for this time of year since the tracking began 18 years ago. So still in the overall scope of things, low on the inventory side, but it is rising. In April, there were 17% fewer homes that came on the market compared to the 3-year average. And of course, prior to COVID, 2017 to 2019, last year there were 2274 homes on the market, or 170 additional homes, 8% more. Demand, the number of pending sales over the prior month decreased by 87 pending sales, down 4%. This is all Orange County based here. So that's something to think about there. So demand is doing some different things. When you look at the market, demand is slumping, inventory up, demand, again, kind of slumping a little bit on the pending sales, or, those in escrow. Closed sales down year over year as well. There were 2645 closed residential sales in March, 18% less than March 21, which was over 3,000. March marked a 49% increase compared to February 22, though. And the sales to list price ratio was 106.9% for all of Orange County. Foreclosures accounted for just 0.2% of all closed sales. So again, homes are going for still well over list on the average. 6.9%. Our brokerage is seeing that on the listing side as well. We are actually, I think, above that in terms of what we are netting for our sellers on the list side in recent transactions. And this goes back not only to this year, but also, really in the year and a half prior to that as well. So again, foreclosures, though, everybody thinks that foreclosures are going to pop up a bunch. Not seeing it here, at least not in Orange County. 0.2% of all of the closed sales. Short sales accounted for 0.1%. 99.7% of all sales were regular standard sales in Orange County. Here's another graphic for you. Some more information from reports on housing as we roll on with a ton of information. This is just a basic graph here, or graphic rather. Orange County housing inventory is up 2104 homes. Again, this is from a couple weeks ago. I've got some updated information that reflects numbers as of yesterday. So we'll talk about that. First time the inventory level is above 2,000 homes since last October. Now, we'll talk about, and I'm going to show you this here. If you've been paying attention to these videos, you'd be noting, especially since that October date there, the inventory was hovering around the mid 1000s, in the teens, that sort of thing, 1800, 1700, 1500 in December, January, February. I mean, it was like 1100, 1200 in terms of active listings on the market in Orange County. So now you're looking at a change, and I'll show you more about that here with our MLS homework that we did here. Going to pull up this video for you as we normally do. This is as of 5/17. Okay. And you can see here coming soon there, as of yesterday, there are 242 in the coming soon status, 194 that are noted from May 17th, which was yesterday, up to the 29th. And active, you can see there, it's jumped up even from a couple of weeks from the reports on housing number. As of yesterday, 5/17, 2,468, 557 of those basically from May 9th until May 17th. Active under contract, those are ones that have entered escrow but still have, contingencies in place and whatnot. 1,189, 396 from May 9th to May 17th. Pending, those are the ones that are getting close to closing. They've got contingencies removed and whatnot. 1,418, 237 of those from May 9th to May 17th. Closed 712 since May 9th. So you can see there, again, when you look at the active, 2,468 and 557 of those coming from just the past couple of weeks. Those are big jumps in terms of numbers. Really, quite honestly, I want to say it's about double from where it was just a handful of months ago in terms of the numbers that we saw in the MLS that we have researched. We can go back and look at some of these other videos, but I remember that number being in the 1,200s, 1,100s, maybe, depending on what time of year it was that we're talking about. But I mean, not too long ago, it was about, that active number was about cut in half. So now in the summer, you're seeing more activity, and you are seeing more houses come on the market. So that, although higher interest rates, yes, prices are still up there, it does provide buyers options out in the market there. So that is something that buyers need to be aware of and see out there in the market. Now, we've talked about we have a property, just kind of a brokerage update in terms of some transactions we have been involved in of late. We have one that we previewed here a handful of weeks ago in escrow, set to close in the next couple of days here in the desert, a beautiful property in Indio and Sun City Shadow Hills. That is set to close here on the listing side. We have a lease opportunity that we showed a couple of weeks ago as well in the Crestville community of Laguna Niguel. That has been leased as well. So that We are working on the lease side as well. And we have another lease that has just gone under contract as well. So we've been working on, some listings, some leases and whatnot. This is another beautiful property in Laguna Niguel that we have recently entered into contract for a client of ours. It has been leased, so we've got a great tenant in there going in there, and then a happy client on the other side that we were able to lease that in just a couple of days being on the market. So yes, while we work listings and we work on the purchase side, we have helped a number of folks both find homes as tenants and or list them as lessors on the market with their properties. Going back to going back to about December of 21, we've got about 4 or 5 leases that we've concluded as a brokerage, about one a month essentially, that we've done since December of 21 on both sides of the transactions, listing them and finding folks lease properties, lease opportunities as tenants. So if that's something that you are also trying to navigate as a potential client entering the real estate market, we as a brokerage at Casa Realty Group can help you on that front and would be happy to answer any questions for you. Maybe you're kicking around the thought, is it best to lease at this point in time? Is it better to purchase? And those are, kind of tricky questions to navigate, and obviously it's subjective based on your situation and where you may be looking and all kinds of different factors. So we'd be happy to talk to you, walk you through all that stuff. That is our job, and we relish the opportunity to talk with you, answer questions, work with you in the future, whether it's buy, sell, or lease, or hey, if we can just be a resource of information for you so that you are educated, and maybe it's something that takes place down the road and we can help you further down the road with a transaction. We would love to build a relationship with you on that front. Okay. The other thing that we want to get to on our way out of here is a little bit of a community spotlight. We like to do this and talk about either a charity in the community, something we are supporting, or, just somebody doing something great out there, a business in the community that we want to support, all kinds of different things. We've highlighted a bunch. This one is a repeat, but I think it bears repeating based on an upcoming holiday that we have here. So here is the community spotlight. So you may remember a few months back, we kind of kicked this off back in for Veterans Day in November. We partnered with the Gary Sinise Foundation to kick off a fundraiser, so to speak, with the Gary Sinise Foundation. You can see here, Casa Realty Group's partnership with the Gary Sinise Foundation. Great foundation. They help veterans on a number of different fronts, whether it's disabled veterans who were injured in combat, whether it is, first responders, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, etc., folks who have, PTSD issues or other needs of any kind, financial needs, what have you. This is a great foundation that helps a number of different veterans, active military, active first responders, retired first responders, out of active duty folks on a number of different fronts. I mean, they do everything from, again, fundraising to, certain events, to even retrofitting certain houses for veterans and whatnot who have been wounded in action and need different things in their homes. And so they retrofit certain homes with different needs that the folks may have in there. And the money that we are raising goes to that sort of endeavor. And so Gary Sinise, of course, a very popular American actor, a guy who is very passionate about helping veterans and, everything, first responders, everything they do and stand for, and all the great service that they've provided for this country. So with Memorial Day coming around the corner, we thought that this was a good opportunity to potentially rehash this fundraising opportunity where you can give money to the Gary Sinise Foundation, and we're just putting our name kind of behind it. Nothing's going to our brokerage. Nothing's going to our agents or brokers or anything like that. It is all going to the Gary Sinise Foundation to help out some great folks that need some assistance, and that Gary Sinise Foundation is proud to provide. Again, Gary Sinise, American actor, very popular American actor, most notably known for Lieutenant Dan in the Forrest Gump movie, and some others on some big TV roles, movie roles, etc. So very, very passionate. They do great work in the community, helping out veterans and whatnot. And we will leave you with another video kind of telling exactly what it is that they do and some of the things that they provide, and we'll get out of here with that. So please think about donating to the Gary Sinise Foundation on behalf of Casa Realty Group. We would really appreciate your support on that front, especially with Memorial Day coming around the pike. We'll be keeping an eye out for that. If we can help you out, again, with a purchase, a sale, lease, get you any information, or just have a chat about what's going on in the market or what have you, definitely let us know. We would love to assist you. I'm Anthony Cosenza with Casa Realty Group. You got to go to casabellrealtygroup.com. There's a blog on there with all kinds of different stories and whatnot, including these updates and much more, including active listing inventories. And we can get you plugged into to be shot some updates of available properties that you may be looking for that fit your criteria. So we can link you into that with our website. Let us know if you are interested in doing that. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with another update. Have a great week, and we will talk to you soon. Here's Gary Sinise for the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Welcome, and thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you joining me on our Gary Sinise Foundation mission of service to our nation's service members, veterans, first responders, their families, and those in need through our many programs and initiatives. At GSF, we serve our nation by honoring the men and women who answer the call to duty. Freedom and security are precious gifts that we as Americans should never take for granted. We must do all we can to extend our hand in times of need to those who willingly sacrifice each day to provide that freedom and security. Our programs and initiatives at the Gary Sinise Foundation have made a positive difference, improving lives and lifting spirits across the nation. But there is more work that we can do to give back to these brave defenders and their families. They deserve so much, and I believe while we can never do enough to show gratitude and to give something back to them for all they sacrifice in service to our country, we can always do a little more. So please continue to follow us on our journey and stay up to date on the impact we make year-round. I highly recommend visiting the website, viewing our many great videos on YouTube, and following us on all our social media channels. And again, thank you for your interest in getting to know more about the Gary Sinise Foundation. I look forward to serving alongside you on this mission of service to our defenders. Thank you.